probably not cheapest, Europe. Like, how in God's name can someone know in a third country whether someone sprayed X, Y, and Z on the grain when it's landing in a boat of 3 or 4 months later? Like, there's a lot of things that people aren't supposed to do in some of them countries, no more than cattle, tagging, traceability, all that. Sure, it's lulal what goes on in some of them countries, but Europe are closing their eyes to it. Yeah, they'll sign it up in an agreement. I think the Mercosur, actually, what it said is that the only way you can be thrown out of the Mercosur agreement if you get out of that CAP or COP or whatever you call that climate agreement, if you're thrown out of that. And to be the same, and it's not ye cannot be looking at that, and I understand that fully. But like someone to go saying that if some fella sprayed whatever on the crop abroad in Brazil or wherever, that we're going to know then when it lands in Europe 3 or 4 months later, when it's combined, when it's gone in, and when it's like Europe is actually trying to think, they must think that farmers are pure, you know, in a world of their own, they don't understand it if that's what they believe is going on. Because we know, the likes of the Farmers Journal and other crowds have gone out, the farming organisations have gone out, they've proved what has gone on in cattle, and let no one say it's any different in any other thing they're growing.
So just to be very clear, going back to Deputy Fitzmaurice, in relation to what was sprayed or not sprayed on crops, we do test imports for pesticides, for residues of pesticides, so we capture that as part of our feed safety control programme. In relation to, is there work been done on setting a minimum threshold or a minimum requirement of native grain in dairy or beef rations? Is there work been done on setting a minimum threshold or a minimum requirement of native grain in dairy or beef rations? I would say industry themselves, there are some initiatives, so some of the co-ops and some merchants are producing native grain. There isn't a specific minimum set down, and I think if there would be some concerns from a legal point of view if you were to put a restriction on the amount of, you know, or to basically impose a quantitative restriction on other grains going into feed. That would be a breach of the European Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union.